leave it to the professionals.
Blessed by Bundy, blah, blah, blah.
Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hopes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, you'll set it up.
Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been goated when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Call her Era Lord. Call me Levi, playing on the keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want one, but I got a cop too. I wanna fly high in the sky, arms out wide, trying to soar from a bird's eye view. I'm on fire, Ricky, Bobby, cracking the pavement, Whitney, Bobby. I'm a Saki bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kinda spotty. You sipping on some rock, and I'm sipping on octane. The only thing around my neck is the
Started off with a
blockchain.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hopes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like LeBron James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. The field's not falling for the FOMO. Listening to Coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they loco. I ain't never gonna stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rocking Ethereum NFTs. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I gotta shout out
Started
the
off with a
party.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hopes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Breaking the mood to choose one, but they got knowledge to move, son. I'm shocking in shades with my brother in suits. Yeah, them blues is coming. Even though it's hard to pick, eeny, mighty, mo, soda on the mix, no biting lips, it's time to go. Index number 1, no thumbs up, you gotta scroll. Looking at the ghost in studio, it's time to go. I had a helmet on by myself until I met a mask that wanted to have a face off. So I had to bring my chainsaw, full tank of gas in the ride with my brakes off. I'm A1, but a different kind of steak sauce.
GM, welcome to Coffee with Captain. Happy Monday, everyone. Hope you all had a great weekend, and I'm excited to be here. A lot to get into today. Busy weekend in terms of news. Kicked off on Friday and continued on through the weekend. Feeling it in my bones. I said spicy, but in a good way. Might have a spicy show this morning. I think will potentially invoke a good bit of feedback. Maybe I'm hoping at least one or two doubters or naysayers or someone who's on the other side of the fence as me, because as well, the title on Spaces doesn't say it yet. But we're also live on X video, YouTube, and Abstract video, and then X audio Spaces. This is Coffee with Captain. I'm Cap. No co-host today, but like I said, I do expect maybe a guest or two. We might actually have a special guest, a repeat guest, but it's not joined us for a while. I'm going to keep that a secret till about 9:30. I think we'll get our guest of the day joining us here today. But like I said, a lot to get into between now and then, and I think some of you might have something to say about it as well. So just jumping right into things before we get into all the Web3, crypto, Bitcoin, and NFT happenings, which, like I said, I'm going to change this title right now, that NFTs are back, bottom signals everywhere. We'll share a few on the show today, and I might even go on a little bit of a rant on the timeline. May just repost all the bottom signals that are out there, because it is more than I can remember for quite a while, and both on the good, as you know, data-based, as well as the tourists, the fudders, the grifters have, are saying NFTs are dead, it's over, and tell me your bottom signal without telling me your bottom signal. Bottom signals. I'm seeing if I can fit the title. Bottom signals everywhere. Before I get into all the exciting, actually, it is somewhat NFT related because it's an NFT native brand. That be it Rect, started with Rect Guy NFTs. They then gifted equity to their shareholders, or excuse me, gifted equity to their NFT holders. And we got Loki coming up as well. He can feel it in his bones also. NFTs are back. Some might say a renaissance of NFTs is loading here. But before we get into all the fun stuff NFT related, one brand that started from NFTs and then shipped a brand coin and building consumer loyalty, I was bull posting over the weekend, Rect Energy. I didn't get the blueberry. I only got the cherry cola. I'm going to be ordering another blueberry today. First of all, I love the brand. I'll support it. I order a lot of their drinks. This is though much more up my alley as a caffeine addict, or I guess maybe put it a better way, a connoisseur of caffeine and pre-workout. Ingredients here, no sugar, which is key for me. I will full fade any sugar with my energy, but it's just loaded with good, healthy caffeine. It's all natural caffeine. Amity is I believe a brand. Ono Sweet is, I guess, the sweetener. That was a new one for me. Cognizant is the nootropic. But I had it over the weekend for the first time, and it just, I don't know how to describe it other than it just feels clean. Also, this has 30 servings compared to the pre-workout I'm coming off of is a pretty reputable bum from Chris Bumstead's, like a, I don't know, 5 or 6 time defending Mr. Olympia. And now this does have some niacin in it, or I guess more niacin, I should say, to where you can feel the tingly skin a little bit, which I don't mind. I know a lot of people turn off and it's not really, probably not for the masses, but this, they've got their caffeine from green coffee extract. So all natural. Again, similar ingredients wise. Maybe I'll take a picture of the ingredients list and then we can compare on the timeline. Beta alanine, I think, is the tingly stuff that this has 3.2 grams in it, and the Rect Energy does not. So if you do niacin flush, and I think beta alanine too. Am I thinking right, Joey, that beta alanine will lead to some of the tinglies? Again, I don't mind it. I kind of like the tingly. I'm weird like that, but I know a lot of people do not enjoy it at all, and it'll turn people off. We got to say they're back at some point, Dort. That doesn't mean it's not top signal yet because the top hasn't occurred, but the bottom is in. So should I change the title just bottom signals versus calling it back? I would do that if the chat prefers. Anyways, back to this. These are both 30 servings. So not only is it a high quality, and caffeine dosage is the same, but it is efficient. I don't know how they've got it so efficient to get the scoop is like half the size. Again, maybe that means nothing, but to me, I was a big fan. The other thing I was a big fan of is this little card they included in there to get your Rect coin. Very easy to do. And it just says, claim your Rect coins. And I haven't checked this morning, but I want to say $20-ish, $19, $20 back on a $40 purchase. So I don't think you can, I think you'd be hard pressed to find 30 servings of a high quality, clean pre-workout or energy drink, whatever you want to use it for even close to $20. Usually you're talking $30, $40. So big fan so far, big fan of the team, what they continue to do. And again, back to why, NFTs are back in the sense that the next phase, the next cycle is begun. It's going to be very different than the first, but the tech matters. The tech's was never going to go anywhere, but now we're seeing it used a little more. And quite frankly, and this isn't, we don't need to get into a big OpenSea debate, but blur farming's over. OpenSea farming's over. And it's not a coincidence that you're seeing floor prices up pretty much across the board. Volume is down tremendously from Mania, but I think that's also not a bad thing. It's these collectibles weren't, I don't think, ever intended to be traded at extreme high velocity, rather collected, and collectors are collecting. Not only are floor prices up, good luck trying to find, in some of these collections, good luck trying to find, an aesthetic one, or a rare one, or something that Bad Buns, if you're out there now, we'd love to have you on the show. I've talked about you a lot, actually, and shame on me for never DMing the actual brand account. But yeah, Bad Buns, have talked about you numerous times here on the show, and one that I've looked at need to add. And I think this is kind of where the point of the show today is, hey, could it dip again? Might this be a short-lived pump? Yes, it could be. At some point, if things actually do run, there's gonna be a lot of people sidelined. I said it on Friday that the ape rally will be the most hated rally, and it's happening. Like, it's already starting to happen. Just a couple days later, I'm not saying it was the coffee with Captain or the Captain pump, but it is why this cycle is going to be so different. As last cycle was so speculative, it was so hype and mania, and it was a bubble. Well, bubbles often lead to long-term sustainable industries. It's just you have to flush out the bubble first. I mean, look no further than the dot-com bubble of the late 90s, early 2000s. Most of those companies, brands went to zero. And out of that, you've got Amazon, Google, Facebook, basically the most valuable companies on the planet today were a result of the dot-com bubble. I'm not saying that Yuga and Igloo and these NFT brands are going to be the most valuable companies on the planet if you fast forward a decade. But the ones that have kept building, they've now really built an infrastructure. They've now really built something to more than just speculation. And they're all different. So it's going to be, it depends on where, what you're interested in, what you want to, what excites you. But now there's some real stuff happening. And in some cases, it's as simple as like a member directory. Bored Ape Yacht Club launched a new website, also acquired a pretty sweet domain, BAYC.com. Nice little 4-letter domain that I don't even think they've talked about. I just happened to see it in going to the site, and you type in BAYC.com and it redirects you to Bored Ape Yacht Club. They introduced the new website, which has a nice member directory. I will I sent a post with mine over the weekend, but it's easy to identify other members, brief bio. I mean, something that, this isn't a knock. It's not a knock, but we've talked about it since 2021. In fact, I remember a guy, Crypto Jack, that had started like his own community-based membership, Airtable type thing, and it was a hit. It's just really, for it to stick, I think it's one of those things you need it to come from the top. You need it from Yuga themselves to be officially, owning that and updating that. And there, the member directory. Sorry, I was just looking for it. That now that launched, it's a nice little perk. It's a nice perk for a club. You want to talk about, what's one thing to make friends. It's another thing to interact, communicate, converse, hang out with said friends. And as part of a online club, an in real life club, knowing who's in the club and who you can interact with, kind of a big deal. So that went live, and again, it's a clean, stripped down site. The last site they had, I'm guessing they probably paid a hell of a lot more money for it. It just wasn't. It wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't. It wasn't usable. I mean, it was usable, but it didn't. It was more fluff than an actual website that you could use and would go back to. I think with the member directory that they just launched, now there's one thing there that other people, not just the member directory, but the club directory, anything from Welcome Apes to Magic City Apes or Cigar City, like your local regional clubs, which takes the large club and brings it down into something much smaller. And in real life, I think is a big deal. Here's a glimpse if you missed it. I said, the most hated, this was it Friday? As soon as I saw it, the ape rally will be the most hated. Also, is BAYC.com new? It is nice premium domain. Coming soon, Wynwood, Miami. So there's two things happened. One, they launched a new website. This is a glimpse of the member directory. Again, you can update your profile. You can link all the apes you own. Anything you want in your bio. You can link your X, your Instagram, a website, even your OpenSea profile. And it's just an easy way to see who's in the club. What I think this is, I'm kind of hopeful. I haven't talked to anyone. Actually, we are going to have, probably shouldn't say this because it's not confirmed yet. We're going to have I'm just going to say, I think Figgy's going to join us on Wednesday. Not locked in yet. And I know it's super early in the morning for him, but I think Figgy's going to join us on Wednesday and we'll go deeper here. And I'll share my feedback with the team then in case they don't get it from today's show. But I'd love to see them add on this and even put more to it, like I have thoughts, so I'm not going to go off on this tangent because we could spend most of the show just talking about that. And I see we already have some guests on stage. Want to get to all these hands, and I have a lot of. I said your bottom signals, so apologies for offending anyone. I'm not. I mean, maybe I am jinxing it, and maybe saying we're back is a top signal. We got to be back at some point, and it's not just what excites me and why I think NFTs are back. It's not just floor price pumping on apes and pudgies and V-Friends and Azuki and Quirkies. It's look at the success we're seeing from normies and pixel pups. And let's do this. Because I have a lot of, I mean, you also, another sign that we're back is we have a wild Shiba King jumping on stage. I haven't seen Shiba King for a while. So yeah, let's do this. Let's do a quick market update. And then I've got a lot of posts from the timeline that support my thesis that bottom signals on both from a data standpoint, from a bull posting standpoint, and from a bear standpoint in the sense that meme coin KOLs and tourists, those that came in, bought PFPs just to, I don't want to say extract from a community, but to extract from a community, in some cases, not even financially, just goodwill and to build a following. And then, the market bottomed, they sold, and buckle up, here we go. So let's run a quick daily market update. Well, that'll give us some more content to talk to carry us into these conversations. This daily market update is brought to you by Awaken Tax. Head to awaken.tax, use code coffee50 or return coffee50 to get $50 off your tax prep. Full disclosure, there was a data breach. The team is on it. They've addressed it publicly. They're going to send out more kind of a postmortem with details that the breach has been contained. Your funds are safe, but I respect Duca for meeting it head on and the communication he said. And I more on that. He'd sent some stuff behind the scenes. I just want to let them publish that first. But but truly, even if you're not looking for a subscription, you just want some help with your 1099 DA form that you got from any of the centralized exchanges out there, whether Coinbase or Kraken, head to Awaken for free support on that 1099 DA. And for the subscription, say $50 with Coffee50 or return Coffee50. This is our daily market update brought to you by Awaken Tax.
Smart update time, let's set the play. Powered by Awaken, the smart tax way. From crypto flips to DeFi stacks. They keep it clean, got your back. Grab your coffee, let's break it down. Daily update, right down.
Again, this is our daily market update brought to you by Awaken Tax, awaken.tax, code coffee50 or return coffee50 to save $50 off. We're going to start with tokens, and then we're going to roll into NFTs. It's an exciting story on both sides of the house right now, coming off of a very interesting weekend. I guess because I don't know as if we'll get into the other stuff due to, I think this is going to lead to some conversations here. Quick flyovers on, if you missed it, there's a really cool article from Citrini. They sent an analyst to the straight and with like 15 grand and a box of cigars and a GoPro and wild. It'd be like if James Bond was a traitor. So go hit that. I'll put it up top if you missed it. But some pretty wild stories coming out of Citrini. Pretty incredible rescue mission from after a pilot getting downed and all that. Lost some equipment, but I think as most Americans would agree that equipment can be replaced, human lives cannot. And I think it's partial. One of the things that makes some of these service men and women so brave is that they have confidence knowing that if they go down, if they ever get stuck behind enemy lines, someone will come get them. Also, live streaming on Netflix today, the moon mission. I think it's at 1 Eastern that goes live on Netflix. So a few like macro / world event stuff. Like I said, busy weekend of news across the board. We'll fly over them today. Some of those are somewhat evergreen, so we'll see what's on the docket tomorrow. But want to keep things moving with the market update and then get into this NFT conversation because, like I said, not only a stage full of guests today, but a lot of information on the timeline. Also, I see some people saying that X feed isn't showing people on stage, and there's some, X can be finicky from time to time. There was an X update. I updated my devices right before the show. So if you're having any issues, whether it be audio quality or you're not seeing any speakers, or you can't hear speakers, maybe check to see if you have a X update. You may have to go click X. It'll just open it first. Click if it's on the App Store. Click through, and then you should see the update there. But yeah, if you're having any issues at all, try getting the X update, and then force closing Twitter, coming back and rejoining us. I don't know why I still call it both X and Twitter in the same sentence, but I don't know if that'll. I consciously think about calling it X and not Twitter, but I think it'll always, somewhere in my brain's always going to refer to it as Twitter. Here we go. Market update. Starting with the majors, Bitcoin up 3.87% on the day to 69,420. It's actually 69,490, but memes. ETH up 5.4% on the day, 2148. XRP up 4%, BNB up 2%, Solana up 3.26%. Tron is the only one flat to down. It's only down 0.21%. Doge up 3%, Hyperliquid up 4%. Man, I should have opened that long when I said I was going to, instead of being concerned about the whale who unstaked $19 million of hype. I should have just trusted my gut. But here I am. I'm not sidelined. I hold hype. I've got some hype staked, but I would have loved to have a long printing right now. Cardano up 5.8%. Bitcoin Cash up 1%. Chainlink up 6%. Just winners across the board. You got to go quite Canton down 0.45%. I mean, Avalanche up 7%. Sui up 7%. BitTensor up another 9%. Memecore up 9%, 17% on the week. I'm looking for a loser, and I'm not finding it. Some of these are like flat, down 0.5%. BitGet token down 0.85%. The first, you got to go to the 63rd highest market cap, a token called DEXE, I guess. No idea what it is, but it does. It's the 63rd ranked coin in terms of market cap, and it's down 5% of the day. So you got to go 63 down to find one down on the day. Even Trump coin up 2.81% on the day. So exciting day in the world of crypto, which with all things happening in the world, still a lot of uncertainty. It is interesting. And chat, War Room, you almost got me. Heading over to continue the excitement, heading over to OpenSea to check out these NFTs. I mentioned Rect Guys, which birthed that Rect energy that I'm a big fan of. Pudgy Penguins up 3% on the day. Apes up almost 10% on the day to 6.35. Now a full 2 ETH separating apes and pudgies. This is not a PvP. I'm just simply commentating on the floor differential there. Both are up, which is the exciting part. Oh, the hype whale did sell over the weekend, but we have another big unlock in 4 days. Sorry, I had to get that in there. Thanks, Mayhem. Appreciate the update. Mutants up 12% of the day, teetering on 1 ETH. The other thing we'll talk about here in a bit too is not only your floor is way up, but it's super thin. I think there's like well, it's probably changed now because there's been so many, the floor is lava, as the kids used to say. As of 6 o'clock this morning, there was only 21 apes till a 7 ETH floor. So floor is super thin. And I saw some people actually looking to collect NFTs they wanted to collect, and you got to get to double digits. You're talking like 11, 12, 13 ETH for no offense to any of the floor ones, but for, quality, aesthetically pleasing ape, you got to get up to it's almost double the current floor price. There was about, 30 to 50 of specific to this collection that were traded around on the floor that were farmed for Blur and then OpenSea. And I think what we're seeing now is there's no incentivized bidding. There's no incentivized trading. People are collecting what they want to collect. And don't forget about things like TokenWorks. I think it's sitting on maybe closing on a couple dozen apes, like, I don't know, somewhere between 15 to 25 apes, I think. So it's theoretically, it could be eating or taking off the market these which previously were recycled into bids. It's going the other direction now, where they're acquiring them and then listing for 20% above the floor. So little different impact there. Moonbird's up 3.2% to 0.83. Little Pudgy's up 1.3% to 4.47. Normies, I saw Serpent out there earlier. Circ. Having a brain fart. The founder of Normies, saw him earlier when I was saying NFTs are back. We'll share a post on that here in a little bit too. 0.18. This was minted not long ago. Azuki, 0.8. I think might be the highest floor I've seen on Azuki for a while, up 4.9. Doodles flat on the day to 0.48, but I saw I think it was the Gator, one of the Gator head, Gator costume doodles was bought for like 2.5 and immediately relisted for 7 or 8. Again, flippers aren't flipping floors. You're now seeing collectors collect and relisting quote unquote grails within these collections for significant premiums above floor. These are all signs, indicators that momentum is heading back the right direction for the first time in a while, right? It's like we talk about bottom signals and momentum signals that things could go the positive direction. It's thin floors, collectors collecting, incentivized bidding being over, and grails getting acquired. I also saw a Good Vibes Club grail, gold one sold for, I want to say 80-ish. INX, this is the Quirkies collection. Clone X up 2%. Milady's up 4% to 1.23. Hypers flat at 3.99. Quirkies 1.16, down 0.5%. Gimboys, one of the newest collections, they're up to now to 1,800 ape. This minute at 360 ape, I believe. So already a quick 5x from something that minted last week. I mentioned Pixel Pups. I'm not sure they're popping on. Yeah, there they are. Up another 32% to 0.13. This was a free mint we handed to all of you. The allow list was not all NFTs, but if you had collected, if you held any credible, notable NFTs, you probably could have minted a free Pixel Pup. It's up now 0.13. There's been a lot of mints that have done these similar run-ups. It's just you got to be paying attention. I think so many people, myself included, were just not feeling like, I'm looking to buy NFTs right now because who knows when the bottom's in. But for new stuff that's free or close to free, there's been some prints. And we've hit on, while I didn't get in all of them, we did, whether it was from Pixel Pups to Normies to Death and Taxes, we've talked about them all here on the show, and all these are way up. And it's been a while since we could talk about new mints being, so as excited as I am for apes being up 10% of the day and mutants being up 12%, I'm equally excited to see things like Pixel Pups up to 0.13 and Normies up to 0.19. The one lagging I still think has some upside is Codas. It's not going to get the pop for something like an in real life Clubhouse as apes and mutants are, but 0.54, Coda's up 3% of the day. Moonbird Mythics even up 21% of the day. VFriends flat, but still 1.4. They've been climbing as Gary just continues to grind. Oddities up 16% on the day. And you can see here just a lot of winners across the board, and from many different tiers. Good Vibes Club 0.65, they're flat. Creeps up 10% of the day to 0.19. And yes, Be Epic NFTs are pumping. Death and Taxes, I just mentioned earlier, up 21% of the day. Could it be a short-lived pump? Maybe, possibly, but this feels different than prior short pumps, partially because what is other than macro, forget about macro for a second, take away the global uncertainty and just specific to NFTs, what's a current headwind? Like what, and I'm not blaming OpenSea, I'm not blaming Blur, but I think we most can agree now that incentivized bidding, incentivized trading of NFTs is a net negative to not only NFT floor price, it's a net negative for collectors. Like people who really want to collect, they're often just going to stay on the sidelines and wait and watch until the incentivized bidding is over, or incentivized buying and trading and selling, because we have so much data on this. We know how it plays out. It's going to drive floor prices down. And so if I want in this community, I want in this club, I want to collect this asset, why would you do it when it appears like, could you get short pumps during the incentivized bidding, the incentivized buying and selling? Sure, you could get short pumps, but often those short pumps came because some whale was going to sweep and you knew the whale was going to just dump right into bids and wreck the floor at some point. Now that those headwinds are gone, and not all are going to pump. A lot of these are still going to trend to zero. Some might have short-lived pumps for now, because as you're seeing collections that are building stuff ship and deliver and those floor pump, there's going to be traders who are going to look for beta plays. You're going to have traders who are going to look at what might pump next, and those could also pump. And then when the team comes out and just doesn't do anything, there's no updates, they haven't shipped anything new, and there's nothing new planned, the thing is going to retract and be right back to where it was. With all this being said, it goes without saying, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm certainly not your financial advisor. Don't join us for financial information, or just join us for some fun, some information. Maybe you get a little bit of alpha along the way, but only play with money that you can afford to lose. Buy things that if it does go to zero, you're cool with it. I think some of these have a real floor. Just as I said, something like rides.com is never going to go to zero, the fractionalized token over at doma.xyz, partially because rides.com is a premium domain. There's always going to be a buyer for that. It's a 7, maybe 8-figure domain. And therefore it's just not going to go to zero. It's a real world asset, just like I guess you could say a Michael Jordan rookie card could go to zero, maybe, but it's got a floor. There's always going to be some buyer that's going to step in, just like those that have some sort of real utility, some sort of real value behind it. In this case, I'll reference back to the clubhouse. That's real value. Like there's a lot of people live in Miami, and yeah, it's a global club, but at the end of the day, clubhouse hits, it's not going to be zero. Like, look at the other quote unquote clubs in Miami. Now, after this thought, we'll go around to hands here. I appreciate everyone joining us. Excited to get into it all. But if you look at just Miami-based clubs, some of these are, there are extreme ones. Like if you want to join, I'm trying to find the high. If you want to join Indian Creek Country Club, you're going to have to drop about $20 million on the low end on a home. Like there are extreme high net worth clubs, but remove that one from the equation. You actually got a slick little on the fly. Thank you, Claude. Claude Cowork just took my thoughts and put them into a fancy little one pager here that I'll share with all of you. This is Miami's most exclusive membership clubs. Hopefully that view is coming through okay. I should have a better way. I could probably do the Google slide, might show it better. Here, currently, you can pick up an ape for $1,500. I think it's actually a little higher than that now with the run up. ETH is $2K. So those ape prices, the membership price is a little dated. Floors can move quickly on you. So let's say it's $2,100 to pick up a mutant. Apes, I don't know, 10, 12K. Other social clubs in Miami, Indian Creek, like I said, forget that one unless you're Tom Brady. or Bezos or a billionaire, you're probably not looking at $20 million properties to join a club. That's about as exclusive it gets. There's maybe 200, 250 people. Fisher Island Club, $250K up front, 22 grand a year. ZZ Club Miami, $50K up front, $10K a year. The Surf Club, $50K plus up front, $15K a year. The Bath Club, $20K up front, $18K a year. Fana Rose, $10K up front, $8 grand a year. Club at the Moor, $5 grand up front, $5K a year. Soho House is probably the most accessible, other than the Yacht Club, the Miami Yacht Club, that is, not the clubhouse. Soho is $4,200 a year. So Soho Beach House, $4,200 a year. And for half of that price, you can get access to the clubhouse. And now, I should disclaimer, I do believe that the clubhouse will be open to the public. There's just going to be VIP experiences. There'll be portions of the club that are gated and restricted to holders only. And you can get access to that for $2K one time for lifetime, one-time lifetime initiate. So while these numbers the Soho House is different than the clubhouse, maybe I could also build a case that you get more in terms of a global club and more access from the Bored Ape Yacht Club than you would Soho House. These other clubs, these aren't, other than Indian Creek, these aren't country clubs. These aren't golf. These are social clubs. These are access to networking and hanging out and other utility, other events, other in real life activations that almost all of them cost more upfront than does a mutant ape today. And you're having to pay more annually to keep that membership than a mutant costs today. There's only 30,000 of these, or 29,998, because a couple have been burned. May sound like a lot, it's not. And I think we talk about, this is just one element, by the way. We talk about collectibles, and unlike diamonds, which are hitting all-time lows now because you can create them in a lab that are identical and they're a fraction of the cost. And also it was a, De Boer's marketing trick to get everyone fooled into diamonds were rare. Similar with like baseball cards and original cardboard that got massively overproduced. While other NFTs could be created, there's no more apes or mutants getting created. Like it is a fixed, finite supply. And I think that's something that will come back over time. It could take decades for demand to really hit some sort of escape velocity, but you're starting to see it. There's just not a lot of sellers. 80% of these assets for a lot of these quote unquote blue chip collections simply have not traded hands. They're not for sale. My PFP, I said from not day one, but I said as soon as they crossed $10,000 floor the very first time, I said, okay, I'm not going, I might trade in and out of others, but this PFP, it's going to be at least a 10-year journey for me. I'm going to bet on time in the market, not trying to time the market. And so I'm like halfway there. Now, the reality is I probably never sell this thing, and it's truly a lifelong membership for me. But the commitment I made to myself, and something I'll just stick to, is it's going to be at least a 10-year journey, and we're like halfway through that. Let's do this. I'll take a breather here. A lot of other really interesting stuff on the timeline, both data, some subjective and objective data on the timeline, but on both ends, the bulls, the bears, and people in between. But before we get to hands, or before we get into that, let's get to hands here. I think Sheba King's hand was up first, and then Joey will go Sheba King, Joey, and then anyone else. I think my X is working correctly, but there was an X update. So if you're on stage and I'm not seeing your hand, give me a wave or tag me in the comments. We will get to everyone here, but I see we got Jesus Loki, as well as the Ant Academy and Agent Nahum. I think we've connected a while back, but I think first time speaker here on the show. So we'll get to you all, as well as anyone else to join the conversation. As always, it is a community driven show, and looking forward to the conversation. Hopefully not everyone agrees with me. I see some people in the war room certainly don't agree with me, and that's cool. I do would like to have some back and forth today. But I think there's a lot of, just so you know, I've got a lot of supporting documentation prepared to support my thesis that I think the bottom is in. Shiba King, GM, what brought you up today?
Hello, Jim. It's been a minute. That's all. So I'm here, and I'm proud of you for keeping the discussion going by yourself. I'm like, man, this guy's doesn't even need breaths. I used to take breaths sometimes, but you're gotten so good. But I just wanted to say, I think we might be headed in some type of direction. I hate when Bored Apes bounce 12%, and we're like, it's it. The bottom's in. I would love to see Bored Apes bounce again to 80, and Mutants go to and 1.5, and we start seeing all the other NFTs go with it. And it's kind of what we're seeing now at that base level. But I think crypto in general has been absolutely terrible for the last 12 months. So I think we are about to have a nice little turnaround here. Hopefully we can get that Hormuz open for the oil first, and then stock market rebounds, and then I think crypto will follow with more people more comfortable buying NFTs. I think ETH being so low, this is not financial advice. If you're not buying the NFT for the community or NFTs, buy it for ETH. ETH is really low. You can buy an ape or any penguin asset, a doodle, a corky, or a moonbird, and then flip it maybe for 4,000 ETH in a few months, like 3 months, which is very, very possible the way the market's probably going to go. But a little optimistic. It's good to see Bored Apes cooking. Hopefully we get some more graphics on what they're actually putting together down in Miami. And I think a little bit of hype is what the NFT space needs right now. So yeah.
Agreed, but like hype with substance, I would say. Hype with
we need a little substance. But any hype is good. Right now, I'll take any hype as long as it's not bullshit hype.
I don't even necessarily need hype. I just appreciate the updates, the communication. I'm not saying they did this because I got on a soapbox a week or two ago and was giving him a hard time over not really having any tangible updates other than the other side since Ape Fest. And they did. I had conversations with leadership in the DM, so I that is it wasn't just me ranting on the show. You can see it. You can see the excitement amongst the community. People are excited for the clubhouse. There was people, and if you ask me, like, is the clubhouse still going to happen a month ago? I would have said, yeah, I'm 95% sure it's going to happen. But there was also some people I love, respect, some people, long-term loyal members of the club. They're like, they were, I think, probably 50-50 and feeling like maybe they're just going to rug the clubhouse. Maybe some of these smaller community events, some of the leadership from Baron to Figgy to Cam have been doing, not necessarily tours, but they've been doing supporting a lot of local meetups and events. By the way, for those of you in the Gulf Coast area, my guy Ape Whale, I don't know if Ape Whale is out there this morning or not, but Ape Whale is hosting a paintball get together for members here later. I want to say the 19th. It's in 2 Saturdays, April 19th. I'm going to do my best to attempt to make it up there. But yeah, if you're go hit up, I'll see if I can grab a post of his here in a second. But if you're in the area, I would love to see you there. But from dinners to Korean barbecue, which I think Baron Von Hustle's doing one in Southern California here this week, to golfing and everything between, they're fanning the flames. And some took that as like, is this a sign that they're not going to do the clubhouse? The clubhouse is coming. I think it's at this point it would be. I mean, I don't. I mean, they wouldn't be sharing.
Not do the clubhouse. They're going to do the clubhouse. They're going to do something. They have to. If they don't,
when
they have a timeline. So yeah, they'll do it.
Agreed. When is the question? I think my take, my pure. I don't know any information. I don't have any inside info. We'll see if we can pry it out of Figgy on Wednesday. But my take is, I think we get Ape Fest 2026 in Miami. And if not a grand opening at the clubhouse, I think we have at least one of the side events at Ape Fest is like a tour or like maybe it's I don't know. I think we get a glimpse, we get a behind the scenes. I think there is some tie in. And actually, if you really press me on it, I think they open the clubhouse later this year. I'm going to guess it's November, December, right around Art Basel. They pull the open sign on the clubhouse. We do Ape Fest 2026 in Miami. The clubhouse itself, I don't think will be big enough for all of Ape Fest, but I think they do a venue, one of the events. They kind of bring people through the clubhouse all weekend, do some open house. And
you can't miss the marketing opportunity here, Cap. There's a massive market opportunity to open the clubhouse with us there, right? Majority of us down in Miami. So it would create quite a stir, especially coming in out of Ape Fest. It'll give people an attraction. So it would be a really good combination. I could see that too.
Yep. Again, I don't know anything, but I think that is where I'm putting my chips right now. Is I think we get the clubhouse later this year, in adjacent to or right around or same time as Ape Fest 26. So BAYC.com, new website, member directory, all that stuff did go live. In addition to that, clubhouse.bayc.com is live. Luxury first, lore in the details, our shared headquarters in Miami, the next era of Bored Ape Yacht Club. There's a quick 40-second video on the clubhouse. There's some of these renderings that they shared at Ape Fest. You can get the idea. I hope this exists. I hope there is like an outside, a rooftop bar patio. I'm envisioning something like this might be the members only club, might be the members only section where there's like poker tables, pool tables. I could see that, again, I don't know. I'm just speculating, but I think there will absolutely be some member gated areas of the clubhouse. And I know these are just renderings, but I like the style they're going for. I think it hits. It certainly resonates with me. And I am also really excited that they are going to make it public. I think that is the best way to make sure this thing sticks around and isn't just a 1 to 2 year experiment. They have to close down because they're not profitable. The reality is, even with member gated areas, it could be the coolest club in the world because these NFTs are a lifetime membership. They have to, and yeah, you might buy drinks and food, but this is, as it appears, going to be a expensive club, expensive build out, and it's not going to be free to operate. So for the club, the long-term sustainability of the club and potentially scaling this thing regionally, it's got to be profitable. I don't want to say the only way to profitability, but I think it's extremely more likely that they get to profitability if it's open to the public with these gated areas, as opposed to just gating the whole thing down. And you want buzz, you want people there. And what's the best way to onboard new members is going to be them come and experience this. And yeah, they could have come as plus ones, but Miami is an incredible market. It's becoming, some would say, the Silicon Valley of the East Coast. You're seeing a lot of people from California and New York both move to Miami, not just individuals, but companies, tech companies. And I excited, bullish on them choosing Miami as headquarters. As much as they say, oh, I would love they would have done Tampa. The reality is Miami is much more, in terms of like a top market to do something like this. I think it makes a lot of sense. Let's go to Joey, and then we'll get Agent Nahum in here next. Joey, GM, thoughts?
GM, guys. Yeah, so I think they had to choose Miami, right? It was the only option. Them going somewhere else just wouldn't have made sense. But at the same time, they chose probably one of the most competitive markets outside of New York City when it comes to any type of, like, I mean, I guess Las Vegas you could say too, right? But like, I don't think people understand how competitive Miami is from a hospitality, nightclub, private club. Like, having worked in that industry for a really long time, I can't even begin to tell you how many I've seen, how many restaurants that tried to become, lounges and even nightclubs have come and gone over the years and just could not survive. Miami is so incredibly competitive. And the biggest thing when it comes to Miami too is the loyalty of the patrons. Like, having worked at Live and Mansion and Story and Space and 11 and all these places, like, people just, they're committed, right? Like, they'll go to Live every single night. That's like where they go. They're very loyal. Now Wynwood, and we don't know exactly, right? Did they say it was going to be in Wynwood?
Yep. Yeah. The site I just showed there, actually the site I showed does not say Wynwood, but an earlier post, I believe it's actually on boardapeyachclub.com. I think the lighter or the matchbook there said Wynwood. It also, here's something else. It shows, let me find it and I'll pull it up. It not only does it say, it says coming soon Wynwood. It also, if you zoom in, one of the Easter eggs, this is also doubling down my take that it's coming in this year, whether it's late in the year as I suspect, or it could be next month. If you zoom in on That's as far as I can get in. The matchbook here, it says 2026. Board Ape Yacht Club 2026. It's Roman numerals, but MMXXVI is 2026. It says Miami on the matchbook, but it actually says coming soon, Wynwood, Miami. So I think it opens in Wynwood in 2026.
Wynwood's a completely different type of market, right? So like if you've been down here before, Wynwood is like kind of like the art hipster district, right? Like a lot of like that's where Art Walk is every single month down in Miami. You get a lot of the live music is in Wynwood. So I don't know. It's tough. I mean, they're fighting an uphill battle again in a city where, to your point, there are so many options for people that exist already that are free or paid memberships. I would like them to be successful. I think it'd be incredibly, it would do incredibly well for our space. It's just, it really is such a tough market down in Miami. And what they're gonna need to do is find, if it's gonna be open to the public, they've got to find something like some kind of niche or something that's going to attract people beyond what just being like a cool place to come hang out, because there are endless amounts of cool places to go hang out in Wynwood, in Miami. And I don't know if their plan's going to be live music. I don't know if their plan's going to be, workspace. I don't know if they're going to have a restaurant or what, but it's just a really tough market for them. And I hope they're successful, but I wish there was more information so we knew like what the plan was for the public. Like what are they going to offer? What is it going to be? I
don't know. I don't know as if it'll be full-blown concerts because the venue's just not going to be that large to support it. I do think there'll be live music at times. To your point, yes, Miami is very competitive, to which I go back. I live on the other coast. I think it's more competitive because there's also a lot more people. There's a lot more nightlife. I'd rather them go to a market like Miami that not only has a lot of nightlife, it's also a tech hub. It is, some would say it's the best tech hub in the country. If at worst, it's on a short list between New York, Silicon Valley, maybe LA, but I think New York, Silicon Valley, Austin, and Miami. In the US, as far as tech hubs, up and coming tech hubs, it's there. And I think this is what's unique. What I would say is unique is it's not just a nightclub. And I think that's where you're talking like live and story, and all respect to Grutman, who's built to your point, a very loyal fan base. I think this can pull off both, but be more than just a nightclub. It's, I've been being.
What is it though? Well, like, is it going to open at 9 a.m. and is it going to be like a shared workspace?
Maybe.
Is there going to be a restaurant that serves lunch and dinner and brunch on the weekend?
I think so.
Be like,
I would guess.
Is it going to be like that? I guess that's my part. And again,
I would think in my brain,
but that's the part that's difficult for me, right? Like, what is it?
In my brain, I think it's, without knowing the details, I think it's more like the social clubs I referenced earlier than a nightclub. Will there be evening activities? Sure. But I think more than that, you'll have people that meet there for lunch, and whether they set up shop all day and do their work there, I don't know if that'll be the case or not. But I've been beating this drum for years on the show about experiential retail in the third home. Something that Starbucks built their brand on early on is giving people a place to come and hang out and converse and meet and get work done that wasn't school, it wasn't the office place, and it wasn't home. And I could see that becoming this with the evening activities. And on the area I live, I've shared, like St. Pete, there's over 50 non-alcoholic bars just in St. Pete alone. And they do what you just said. A lot of them open at 7 a.m. and they go till 2, 3 in the morning. There's some that are 24 hours and they are popping the entire time. Now, I don't expect the clubhouse to be non-alcoholic, but my point being is these 24-hour clubs are like there's proof of concept. Like, they're extremely successful and they're busy all the time. Now, it's different types of crowds, and you see a different group of people at 9 a.m. than you see at 9 p.m. But the space is there, the community, and I think more and more people are going to seek out in real life human connection as AI continues to proliferate our lives and become more and more digitally connected, there's just no substitute. There's no robots going to replace that human interaction and a place to hang out, to meet friends, to meet new people. I think you'll see, like, if I lived in Miami, I could see myself going there at least once a week, if not multiple times a week. If I was close, if I was walking distance, I'd probably go and grab a drink every day. Where I'm at now, I could see myself making a monthly trip down to Miami for some sort of event or some sort of activation. And that's what I'm hopeful they do, is don't just have the standard, or here's our operating hours, rather, and not just, oh, every Saturday we have a live band or live music, but rather once a month they do some sort of activations, like a poker tournament, for example, that gives me a reason to drive down to Miami, stay in Miami for the night, or maybe I just make a day trip. And I know that some people are like, oh, I live in Europe. How does that help me? Well, it may not right away, and you're not going to get the same level of usage or value out of that membership as you would for someone who lives in Miami. But the Florida contingent is strong. There's a lot of long-term OG members in the state of Florida beyond just Miami. And like, I expect many of them will be regular visitors, and not just visitors. They'll spend time there. They'll bring friends there. I was looking for the Miami MSA population. I know Miami proper is like a little less than 1,500,000 maybe, but the MSA, so from Fort Lauderdale down to Miami, is 6.5 million people. And this sort of stuff is already very, to your point, competitive. There's a lot of other clubs, social clubs, if you will. None of them you can get in for $2,100 or whatever the price of a mutant is today. And it's still going to be enjoyable. It's still going to be fun. But I have enough, having known these people, I've got enough confidence in the quality of networking that can take place that it's going to take a while. And I don't know what sort of marketing or advertising. It might be none. It may be only word of mouth. It may take a while for the residents of Miami MSA to realize this is another option for a social club, a networking club. But I think there's a part of the benefit, part of the big differentiating factor that they have, that the clubhouse will have, that someone else opens a new social club doesn't have, is the network effects that comes from crypto. It's the same reason, like, I was becoming an unpaid brand ambassador for Rect Energy over the weekend, because I feel, I guess in this case I am vested, but it's like my shares are 100 shares of out of, I don't know, million that are available. So my equity stake is a sliver of a sliver of a sliver. It's nothing I'm ever expecting to make any financial gain from, but I feel vested. You know, I've been wrong for the journey. I've been, you know, I held a Rec Guy NFT from the jump, and my Rec coin, and I buy my Rec drinks. It's the same reason that I become a unpaid brand ambassador for Rect Energy. The same reason that when Pudgy launches a toy in Walmart, that they sell out quickly, because they have supporters. They have vested supporters. I know when I say vested, I know we don't own equity in Igloo or Yuga, but we are stakeholders, and stakeholders that, even though we might critique, the reality is we're all net promoters. Some people, if you gave an NPS survey to a holder base, you know, you might get a lot of detractors or some passives, but at the end of the day, we're all most are promoters that are actively talking about the brand. They'll come check it out. They'll bring friends. It still has to be a cool experience. It's just like we talk about on-chain gaming. The game has to be fun. People have to want to enjoy playing the game outside of any incentives. Same thing here. It's got to be a cool environment. From what I've seen so far, it looks like a cool environment. I mean, I know it's renderings, but it's a place I would hang out. And knowing the people I can hang out with there, sign me up. Like, I will absolutely be taking more trips to Miami when this thing opens. I see we got several other legends on stage. We're going to go Agent, who joined us, had his hand up here first, and then I think apologies if I'm getting the order out of order, but we'll go NFT Drew. Long time no see from TFAR. Great to see you. Another, speaking of OGs in the market, and then we'll get Malik in here as well. We're loaded with legends from the Florida Ape contingency. But Agent GM, great to connect. What brought you up this morning?
Yo, bro. Yeah, we spoke. I think it was around the undisclosed shilling. I think of an influencer. I remember a while back we spoke on that.
Awesome.
Connected then. Yeah, interesting space. I mean, I'm on the sort of viewpoint that NFTs won't be back as they were from the 2021-2022 era. It's like, you know, when we saw DeFi summer has never returned. It's just evolved, and I think that's the way. Like everything you've described from Bored Ape's perspective is shifting towards like NFT as a layer of what they're actually providing. You know, they tried the metaverse and gaming route, and then there's this membership component that, you know, kind of existed in the 21-22 era. But overall, like I think from an RWA perspective, gaming, we get to see some actual tangible stuff. But like if you look at the actual data of the active traders and participants in NFTs, a lot of them have left, and you can say they're tourists, or you can say, you know, this is like a meme coin chart in terms of activity, but that's very much the same across the entire crypto space at the moment. But for me, NFTs, for them to actually come back, they need to have some, and I think it's very much the same for the entire crypto space. There needs to be some tangible, sustainable business model that goes beyond the revenue generated from dumping the token or just simply from royalties from an NFT perspective alone. And yeah, I think, you know, what Bored Apes are doing from a membership perspective does make sense. It's something that is a model that's, you know, applicable in the real world. And, you know, like when you look at the number of NFTs that are being created, I think the long tail is essentially dead. I think it's going to sort of consolidate with these sort of blue chip projects, and there will be some new emerging assets and stuff. But, you know, I think it's going to be going back to, or more important, that people research for new sort of opportunities and new assets. That's like one of the reasons that myself and a friend and a few others in the community have established like the rabbit hole for that very purpose, you know, collectively. And I know the groups do this where, you know, you look into these projects and critically think, you know, a lot of that's been lost with AI, but critically think and ascertain, you know, is this something with legs essentially? Because it's harder to do now within the fungible and non-fungible space for new assets anyway.
Yeah, nope. I think that building something tangible, building something that, you know, escapes the crypto natives. And I think it was Bo was going back and forth, Bo from Pudgy going back and forth over the weekend, talking about how I'll just pull up the post. I don't want to misspeak, but talking about how they've really focused on growing outside of crypto and Web3, so they don't have to just, every time they have a drop, they're not just selling to their existing holder base, not just selling to their existing collectors. And I think that's important. I think that matters. And similar with this Clubhouse, it's not just going to be holders, but yet the holders can help drive. It's like launching opening a club, opening a restaurant, and having 30,000 people already, you know, promoting your business. You know, Google reviews are very important for a lot of retail businesses. Here they've got those baked in. Malik, I think we lost you on stage. If you're having issues, I see that we got some other hands up there. I'm having some trouble connecting. If you have any issues with the X audio spaces, there was a brand new X update this morning. Head to the App Store, grab the most recent, make sure you update your X. And then maybe close this space, come back, do a full lap, and we should be able to get you up. But yeah, I'm not booting you if you get bounced from the stage. It's just some X challenges this morning. That said, I think I said Drew next. We'll go Drew, Tfar, and then it looks like we did get Malik back up here. Drew, GM, what brought you up this morning?
GM. The stage is like the 2021 vibes.
Said we're back. Just see the stage.
Yeah. It is it's crazy. But I was gonna say, I mean, I think something that's interesting, you know, when you were listing off how much it costs every year for the you know, the other, let's call them social clubs down in Miami that are the bigger ones. Like the difference with this is that if they use only the assets, you know, BOYC, MAYC as the actual like VIP membership, then we're gonna see a scale, like a sliding scale of memberships where, I mean, people in Miami and people, you know, down that way, they got money, dude. And I think one thing that, you know, people that got money is they don't like being told no. And so if it's a matter of like, oh, hey, I buy this asset one time and I have quote unquote indefinite membership and I don't have this ridiculous 20 to 50 grand yearly fee, like there's going to be some people that got money where they're going to buy this and then forget about it. And so when you talk about supply and demand, I mean, I just think, I think the sliding scale of a membership is something that, I mean, at least for me, I've never heard of that. And I think if they go down that route, that'll be pretty damn interesting to see.
Great point. And I think to just expand on that, the other, and this was, I think Joey and or Dort just mentioned this in the war room. This is a really big deal. When you talk about these memberships, these other clubs, that go from anywhere from one-time initiations from $5,000 up to 250 grand, and anywhere from 2,500 a year up to 22 grand a year. Again, excluding Indian Creek, which you got to be a billionaire to even think about that one. It's a sunk cost. Let's say you join Soho House, which is probably the most affordable at $4,200 a year, and you don't like it. Well, you don't have to go, but you're out your $4,200. None of these can you I don't believe can you resell your membership. It's one way. Whereas what NFTs unlock as an access pass in this case is lifetime utility. It's a lifetime membership, meaning someone in Miami, they pick up a mutant to get access to the private areas of the club. They don't like it. Maybe the floor price is down. Maybe they buy one today for $2,200 and next week it's $1,800. They lose $400. You can't do that anywhere else. Anywhere else, you're losing $4,200. Like you're out whatever you'd pay to join the club. You're not getting any of that back. You're not recovering any of that. Forget about, floor price could go up. You could join the club. You could buy in today for $2,200, and then you go and you get a year use of the club, and then it goes, and then the floor price a year from now, because the club's successful, goes from $2,200 to $4,500, and you get a year of access and utility, and then sell it in 2x your money. Forget that. Even if it goes down, it's still a very unique selling proposition that, back to differentiators, what makes this club different than all the other clubs in Miami? That's a pretty big one. Let's go TFAR, and then we'll get Malik in here. TFAR GM, thoughts on the clubhouse or anything else you want to talk about this morning? But I'm guessing that invoked you to come up this morning.
GM, Cap, GM. Yeah. Hoping to provide a little insight here. I actually am GM of a private club in St. Pete that has a wait list of membership that's also open to the public right now within our first tier. So similar, I hope, type concept that BAYC is going for.
Do you mind sharing what you don't have to name it if you don't want to dox yourself completely, but do you mind sharing what's the initiation? What's the annual fee? Do you mind sharing just from a cost standpoint?
Yeah, so we went super cheap right now in the first year. It's only $250 for an individual, and it ranges for couples and families as well. But that gave us a wait list of 500 plus. We're an athletic club more than anything, but a lot of people just join for the social aspect. You mentioned something like events monthly, but we're on events nightly type thing. It needs to be something that brings people into the club every night, whether it's just trivia, we do mahjong nights, we have singles nights. Like it's something that gets the same type of people in there every night. I think what matters most for Bored Ape Yacht Club is the management company they bring in, or how they start their own. If they announce they're going with Grutman and partner up with him, the floor price is going to skyrocket. It really depends on how they manage the club, who they put in leadership positions, and training, hiring. That's huge in the first year, and whether it's going to turn people off or on. Hospitality is you gotta lead with hospitality first. And the management team and the company they bring in, I think, matters most in that aspect.
Yep, 100% agreed. It does need to be not just a cool environment. The service, the hospitality needs to be world class. And you mentioned Grutman. That's at the top of a short list of people you might partner with. I have no idea if he's interested in doing his own things and very successful. I think he actually has a book dropping later this month. Or they bring it in-house, and they have, I'm not saying they have to rely on club members, but there's a lot of talented club members, some with incredible hospitality backgrounds like yourself. I'm not saying you're not trying to force you to move to Miami, but
I told him I can help, but down to help in any way possible. Of course, I want them to be successful. So would love to see that, and would love to help in any type of way for sure.
Love it. And while this isn't a athletic club per se, the clubhouse, while they're not necessarily doing that as their core, leaning into like the social club element, and we've seen in the renderings poker tables, pool tables. I could also see maybe they don't have a pickleball court. Maybe they don't have but I could see them doing that. Could be monthly activation where they have an area that they've got space to set up, and do a pickleball tournament, to do a I don't know, whatever they could do with what. Once we see the venue, I think it'll open up what those ideas, what those activations are. To your point, doing daily activations, daily events. I think that's the way. I think have something going on, if not every day. And they don't all have to be big blowout events. I'm not talking like an Ape Fest every day or Ape Fest every other Friday, but have something going on every day of the week that's a reason for the locals to come see. And what that creates is then you have like, maybe it's like something as simple as like an open mic night, but you have people that really enjoy that. And it's every Thursday, so that your regulars come back every Thursday to participate in that. Maybe there's a cornhole tournament the third Saturday of every month, and people that, maybe someone like myself, I'm not big into cornhole, but let's say I was big into cornhole. Maybe I'd make the drive a couple hours every third Saturday of the month because I want to participate in the cornhole tournament. The poker tournament.
There's some events we throw that people from all over Florida come just for one night. We call it preferred pricing for members, and I think that's hopeful. Something they do as well is everything pricing for members is better. Some things are free. Maybe the public has to pay. Maybe public and members both have to pay, but members have better pricing for it. That's hopefully how they lead, and it's on their mind. But that's something huge. Got to keep members engaged, but you got to get the public in as well.
We'll go to. I agree wholeheartedly. We'll go to Malik here next. Before I do, one more question for you, Tifar. When I've been ranting on these non-alcoholic bar concepts, the kava bar concepts, if you will, these social clubs. You mentioned an athletic club in St. Pete. Joey was talking about how Miami's so competitive from a nightlife standpoint, a nightclub standpoint, and I don't think the clubhouse is a nightclub. I don't think might they have nightclub elements? Sure, but I don't think that's their direct competition. In fact, I'd say more direct competition would be something like where you're at, something like these 24/7 or 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. Kava bars, or that sort of social club environment. Why do you think St. Pete has become such a hub for these sort of establishments, these social clubs, these non-alcoholic bars? Like there's over 50 Kava bars alone in just Pinellas County. It's kind of wild. It's got to be the most in the U.S., if not the world, per capita. Do you think there's something? Is it just because it got started there, and so it's almost like an epicenter, and it's just growing out from there, or do you think there's something that makes St. Pete and that area so unique to support these athletic clubs, social clubs? There's also another one that's you've probably seen it. It's on Central. It's a golf club. It's a golf simulator. So think of like Top Golf, but it's just purely golf simulators. And I want to say there, I think the initiation's like $2,500, and then you're paying monthly or annual dues as well. What is it about St. Pete, or is it just because of the market showed that, hey, this makes sense, it works? We've seen other competitors and fill in to meet the demand. Any thoughts?
I think it's just a new niche of where late night hangouts, where just hanging out, finding the community is now. It's not going out and getting hammered at the club. It's looking for like-minded individuals that may enjoy pickleball, may enjoy golf, may enjoy different types of kava bars. They're looking for that third space more than anything. We're the best club on the internet. People are still looking for the best club in real life as well. And trying to find those like-minded individuals where you can have that third space, that home away from home. I don't think it's just a St. Pete thing. It's really, everyone wants to be in Florida as a whole. And that trend of the new club is the direction of, getting the stagnant yacht clubs that are, 60 and up are kind of dead now. It's just a new meta that people are forming around.
I agree. It's the first time I've ever thought of like maybe part of this, what we're seeing here. And I agree. I think it's the new trend. I think this is so much so that I've been in talks for too long now about partnered up with some of these to help them scale nationally. I don't think it's just a local thing. I think it is the new trend. But the first thought you put in my head is like, maybe part of it is the traditional country club, the traditional yacht club. It's kind of the younger generation feels a little aged out. Maybe it's due to cost. Maybe it's like, man, I'm not going to pay a $50,000 initiation fee and $5,000 a year. Or maybe it's like, I don't want to go hang out with those boomers. No offense to anyone in a country club or a yacht club, but maybe part of it is there's this generational gap and looking for a more affordable, but yet still somewhat exclusive, still fun environment. And I think like it's not community, and the idea of getting together with people you enjoy hanging out with isn't a new concept. It's been around for, centuries. It's just, I think we're seeing, I agree. I think this is the new meta.
Oh, for sure. It's taken over all over. I hope, the Bored Ape Yacht Club does something within more than just a co-working space and bar and lounge, that brings in a whole community outside of Bored Apes as well. But it could be, based off different events. It could be, something that is permanent, but we'll see. I hope they find the direction they want to go to and it thrives.
Yep. Likewise. Looking forward to it for sure. Let's go Malik, and then we'll get Loki in here. Malik, GM, I know passionate about this Miami area and knows a thing or two about the market. Thoughts on this clubhouse and anything else that on your mind this morning? Malik, if you're still with us. If you are, you're muted. There we go.
Oh.
I think he's having those X issues again. Let's go. Again, if anyone's having issues getting up or any issues with X, try to get that update in and then do a quick lap and rejoin us. We'll see if we can get Malik back up here. But until then, let's go Loki. Loki, GM, thoughts on this and anything. I know we started talking NFT Renaissance and floors pumping across the board. It's not just a Yuga, it's not just a Bored Ape Yacht Club and clubhouse dynamic, but thoughts on the market as a whole or anything specific to the clubhouse?
Yeah, man. Happy to be here, GM, everyone. I think when we talk about the demographic of NFTs, so we at the beginning, like during the mania, there were like a lot of young people. And I remember brands say we have to build for Gen Z. But at the end of the day, if you watch around, we're just uncle here. So I think the positioning of the clubhouse is really perfect for this demographic. Totally makes sense. And on the general market, I mean, I'm looking forward to hear your those takes, those posts that you said marking the bottom. I mean, I'm calling the bottom since 2022, so I'm not sure what I'm talking about. But I feel like what's left in crypto. I feel like the last 2 years in crypto were a completely garbage of semi product. I think we could say to launder it was a big farm, whether it was meme coin or new chains or new copycat product or InfoFi, whatever. And a lot of people left, rightfully. A lot of people left for TCG or left for AI. So the ones left, they're looking for some kind of connection, right? Like what's left? Where are the humans? Where are the real people? Who are the only like Japanese soldiers keep bull posting something? And I think that resonates with them, with the only left. So NFTs are here to stay. The communities are still strong. And that's why I feel we are seeing a shift in the market. I think a lot of people in crypto that maybe before they faded NFTs or they didn't think, they thought it was a fade. They are slowly coming back because I mean we know NFTs are inevitable and blah 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 blah. So that's my view on the NFT market. That's a little bit different from what everybody was saying years ago, where NFTs are a thing of the bull market. NFTs are end cycle assets where people gonna be just rich and spend on digital assets to flex. Maybe will still work that way if we ever get another bull run. But I see right now to be actually an asset of bear market. Like only few things they are still here in crypto and they feel like real.
I agree. And I know I mentioned we got a special guest joining us here at 9:30. So I want to get through the rest of these hands. I see Malik got back up here. We'll get to Malik next. I also want to fly through some of these. I mentioned I had some objective and subjective things to support my thesis at the bottom is in. You mentioned, I'm going to share one of these, then I might do like a lightning round to go through the rest. But you mentioned like real things and what, like from a physical clubhouse to more than just digital art. No offense to any just pure digital art plays out there. By the way, speaking of digital art, if anyone can get me into the Rafik public sale, I really would like a Rafik. I think there's only 250 in this new supply that mints here later this week. And I don't even know how to get in. I'm guessing you probably got to hold on to those other pieces. But if anyone can help me along that path, I would greatly appreciate it. But speaking of these newer NFTs from Pixel Pups, and we'll get, I know we had Simple Farmer on here and we tried to show you all to get that free mint. Congratulations to those who took advantage of it. I think we should get him back on here to do a deeper dive on K9 and all that he's building out with that. Like so much more to an NFT than just the digital art. Part of it is being able to program against this. It's programmable tech. I see Cirque out there, and this is one of the things I wanted to highlight this morning. Cirque, we won't have time to do a deep dive today, but I would love to get you back on here to highlight all that you're building with normies. And I just want to flash this real quick. He says NFTs, agentic NFTs. Normies is a combination of 10 smart contracts. It's creating a history for Hive, feeding over 20 data points direct from our API in real time, a living collection. If you like NFTs, you'll love normies. Just one little quick glimpse into when I say this next NFT cycle is going to be very different than the last NFT cycle. I do believe the apes, the pudgies of the world that establish themselves and have lore, that have diehard community members, I do think they're set up to have great success in the next cycle. I also think, and some of them can tap into the technology, especially those that might be on an upgradable contract or someone that could work with maybe, I don't know, Unvault, one of our sponsors, that help them could go multi-chain and protect royalties and share those royalties with their holder base. I think the other thing we're seeing is the newer projects, they're really bringing new things we're seeing more experimenting from the tech standpoint than we've seen in a long time. I feel like 23, 24, 25, we might have saw some new NFT mints. And we shout out to Good Vibes Club, who brought back an NFT mint that was well executed with incredible art a little over a year ago. And they really leaned into the collector base. They really leaned into collectors wanting to collect and build out their collector profiles and rewarded those holders with badges. And that was the first experimenting we've seen an NFT collection do it in quite a while. And I feel over the last couple of months, most of these NFT collections that are running, it's not just because they're doing things differently. They're experimenting with the tech from normies to Pixel Pups. This is a post from TMA. It says the only new collection that I think is criminally underpriced right now. I wouldn't be surprised if the floor is 2-3x what it's currently sitting at. And he was right. He sent this out on Saturday morning, and between this post he sent out Saturday morning and now, the floor price is already 2x'd. Because there's more than just an NFT. He's really building new tools, leveraging the technology we have today, leaning into AI, leaning into AI agents. Like there's so much cool stuff that can be done with these digital assets. I want to see more of that. This gets me really excited to see the tech getting unlocked, see founders pushing the space forward, innovating once again. And as part of what got so many of us so excited about NFTs in the last bull run is there was just more to it. I don't know much about, this is Greeny retweets Berated, who says NFTs greater than meme coins. Berated said, how are you still making money off NFTs? He says, me, minting, sweeping, holding, and believing. NFTs are quote unquote so dead. And he highlights normies, Del Mundos. Shout out to Benny and team who just did some cool new stuff there with a philanthropic approach. Gimbos is a whole tie into Ape Church and on-chain casinos. Human Resources, the other one I'm not overly familiar with, but I believe all these they're doing something with the tech. They could do more because they're on-chain and they're leaning into those on-chain capabilities by programming against the tech than they could if it was just a traditional collectible. Malik, let's go take 3. GM, Hope we get the tech issues figured out. So I am genuinely curious to see your thoughts on.
Is this working?
You got you. You're back.
All right, dude. Yeah, I don't know, man. Twitter glitched on me. I couldn't come off mute before. And I know you got someone coming in 5 minutes. So
all good. Do your thing. No rush.
Yeah. So a couple things. One, back a while ago, you were talking about, doing it in Miami, and I'm glad they did it there versus somewhere else. I would just remind everyone, this has literally been on the roadmap. Miami Clubhouse has been on the roadmap with those exact words for I don't know, it feels like 3 years now.
Maybe more. So I think it might be 4 years.
It was always going to be in Miami. There was no doubt about it. The question was where in Miami specifically. I'm glad they did or didn't do Miami Beach, which anyone who actually lives down here is it's a mission to get out there. So Wynwood feels right. Selfishly, I would have liked maybe somewhere like Coconut Grove or something like that, but again, very limited what you can do and not as much space. Wynwood feels right. The art scene, the vibe is on point.
Agreed. Miami's far better than I like Wynwood. I've been to Wynwood mainly for Art Basel. I think the vibes just feel right. And really, in all of Miami, the only place I would have and not that I would have fudded it, but the only place I would have been oh man, I don't know if this is going to work would have been South Beach. It's just, you want to talk about competition. And not only is it going to be, you're probably paying, I'm guessing 2 to 3x the rent and the operational cost to be over there. I feel like that is you get tourists and people that are visiting might be maybe popping in, sure. But I feel like you're cutting off a lot of your local regulars, not only club members, but someone who might come as a +1 or just the general public. I don't see them going out to South Beach to go to a social club. That's
exactly right. That's exactly right.
And if you're not familiar, it's you gotta fight the bridge, and if there's no traffic, maybe you get across the bridge in a half hour. On a bad day, though, you might sit in traffic for an hour, 2 hours. There was, I think, one time we sat for 90 minutes during Art Basel trying to get across the bridge from South Beach back to Wynwood one day, and it is not easily accessible. And I wholeheartly agree. I'm glad they didn't do South Beach.
And look, Gordo and Garga, they're Miami guys, right? They're from here, like me, born and raised down here. So they know the nuances of just one neighborhood to another. So it feels right. I'm actually gonna sit down today and spend a little time. I'm pretty sure I can narrow down to within 2 or 3 addresses, buildings where this is gonna be. There's not a ton of high rises in Wynwood.
I think it's going to be an existing building. Do you agree? I don't think they're doing a new build. I don't think it's new construction. Do you agree with that?
It's definitely a building. I mean, even if you look at the renderings, the outside space is a kind of like a rooftop terrace or an open terrace. The view, it's got to be in a building. It's not going to be, I don't think, a standalone space. I mean, there are plenty of cool standalone spaces they could take over, but it doesn't look or feel like that to me based on the renderings. In terms of what this could look like from what the place will look and feel like and how it'll operate, I think you nailed it again. This isn't competing with Live and 11 and Story and all these other places, right? And I a lifetime ago worked in all that and in the hospitality biz, right? It's a different vibe. It's not a club. I think that it's probably more similar to, I've been a member for 7-8 years now at a cigar lounge in Brickell. That's a real nice fancy place where it's open to everyone can come, but if you're a member you get your locker that you can put your cigars in, right, and keep your drinks and all that stuff there. You get member pricing, so 25% off everything for being a member. You then also get access to all these weekly events that they do, and one big event a month where it's wine tastings or cigar tastings or whatever, stuff like that. I think that's probably closer to the model that you're going to see. I think at the beginning, to drive FOMO, they'll probably make it so that some of the events at the beginning are going to be really sick, very, very popular events everyone's going to want to go to. And then it's hey, all right, go buy a mutant right now off the floor. It's whatever, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, whatever it is at the time. That's what people drop in one night on tables at Live. Right? Yep. Literally in one night.
Yep.
That's what you're spending. So it's in the Miami pricing scheme, not at all. It's cheap, right? When it's and you're not just doing it for one night, you're getting it forever. So I think the pricing there makes sense. And then you've got to look at who the weapons are that we've got for this exact thing. And it's Illa, man. Go look at Illa. You think it's a coincidence that Illa was tweeting about Justin Bieber still holding his ape?
The thought I was going to wait till you stopped talking. I just said last week, my confession on the show was one of the live shows I really want to see in my life. I want to see Bieber play live. When he said that to me, I'm like, oh my goodness, Bieber's going to play at the clubhouse. This gets happening. Now, I'm going to firm this into reality.
Come on. Illa is like one of the most plugged in individuals in the music scene and the culture scene. Like, you don't think we're going to be using that space to host the next Bored Ape and Bape collab and like sell stuff there, do like all kinds of dope shit. It's going to be sick. I think it'll be able to stand up on its own 2 feet and succeed outside of just the private club membership aspect. I think that if they build a cool space, a cocktail lounge, again, in Miami, any new place, if it's like marketed correctly and has like a little bit of the right hype behind it, you've got just a 1-year free success off of like the novelty pop. So I think it's going to do really well, man. I'm really excited. This is like what I've been waiting for.
I'm stoked as well. Excited to break bread with yourself down there. Many other, like, there's so many of these Florida apes, Miami apes, like apes in general, but so many, like, I feel like we've hung out a lot more than we actually have. And the reality is it's like an ape fest, and maybe there's another event a year. Maybe we run each other at a conference. Just a lot of people I really enjoy spending time with and just haven't had, and not that I say I need an excuse, but I kind of need an excuse. I'm busy. But if I had a reason to hang out, shout out to Apeware for doing the paintball thing. Like, I am genuinely excited. The one thing that I hadn't thought of that you popped, like, I do think there's an opportunity for them to sell product, both collab stuff and NBA stuff there. I think just as a pop-up shop, man, they do their next big collab with Bape, would make sense. There's a pop-up shop there for a weekend, for 24 hours. Like, I could see that as also like a great top of funnel traffic driver that is unique from a lot of these other, social clubs or nightclubs that someone just opens up from scratch. I think these are big key differentiating factors. All that being said, I've got, go ahead.
Just one last thing I have to get out is on the point of when. You said, I think it's smart, the whole Art Basel thing. I hear you. I think it's going to be sooner than that. I don't think they would put coming soon if it was for the first week of December. Something tells me it's going to be late Q2, early Q3.
I think I'm leaning that way. I know earlier I said be closer to Basel. Someone else said Basel plus Ape Fest would break Miami. I think you're right. I think it probably is. Because here's the thing, they haven't even announced Ape Fest yet. I think if it was, and typically, the last few years when Ape Fest has been like October, November, it maybe gets announced at this time. I think you're right. I would not be surprised, I'll say, if it comes before the end of the year. And then maybe during Basel is like, it's the spot, like get it opened up. Like you said, drift off of just the novelty of being new to Miami for 5-6 months. And then when Art Basel drops, it's the spot. That's the Bieber concert. That's where, everyone in crypto wants to hang out during the week because it's the coolest place. It's not just a rental building. It's not just a warehouse someone rented out. It's the clubhouse. And I do think that could be, from a timing standpoint, would make a lot of sense if they go that route. But yeah, super stoked about it. Excited about a lot of things. I've got 10 tabs. I'm going to do a lightning round flyover, all 10 of these tabs. Loki, I saw your hand fly up and down. If you want to get in on, we can after I do this flyover. Before that, though, I'm going to do a quick coffee break. Don't go anywhere. We've got a special guest joining us, a favorite of the show, one of our favorite segments ever. I'm excited to bring back. I'm going to keep you all hanging on until I get back from the coffee break, and then I'll let you know who it's going to be. But they're in the green room. Really excited to bring on a dear friend and talk about some big brain stuff here in a little bit. And I promise I'll share these 10 tabs I have open with both the objective and subjective takes on why NFTs are back and the bottom signals that I'm seeing everywhere. Don't go anywhere though. Quick coffee break. Why we're on this coffee break. If you haven't yet given us a subscribe, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, go over there, hit the like, hit the subscribe on the video. Would be greatly appreciated. We'll be right back in about less than 90 seconds. So go anywhere. barely made it back. We are back. If you're new here, welcome to Coffee with Captain. We do go live every Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Often we'll cover the news of the day, trending topics for about the first hour and a half. And then we're very fortunate from time to time we get special guests join us. Today, I'm excited to bring on one of my dear friends. Some of you already connected the dots, just joined us on stage as well. So not going to be too long. But before I go into our special guest segment for today, and we'll be running this back every Monday. Whether this special guest can join us every Monday or not, we will keep the theme for sure. But quick lightning round of those headlines, those takes that I shared or alluded to earlier, so you don't think I'm just engagement baiting all of you. Here they are, starting with Grateful Apes. I said earlier, 21 apes till a 70th floor. The floor is thin, as the kids say. Quan, apes up 10% since that, hinting that the clubhouse is coming soon. If you live in the area, it probably makes sense to get one. Not a bad price for club membership in Miami. In real life, utility is how you build hype for NFTs nowadays. Couldn't agree more. Greeny, just showing some NFT floors now that farming has ended. Floors starting to increase naturally for the first time in years. Journey Crypto, NFT trading volume, the lowest it's been since first started heating up with CryptoPunks in early 2021. But for the first time since the crash started, there isn't any marketplace farming, which means less artificial trading pushing floors down. We also have enforceable royalties on the contract level now, and blockchain upgrades have really brought gas fees down overall. The bottom is in. I wholeheartedly agree. Even Crypto Bitlord, 100% agree that the NFT bottom is in for the market, but he doesn't think legacy products will ever recapture their value. It's his belief that new markets will emerge, new products will flourish, driving trading volume back into the exciting world of collecting. J-Bond, again, claiming that the OpenSea treasure chest, the voyages over there had something to do now that the farming is over, and getting some news, some excitement. Also, first time I think in a long time we've seen an announcement actually send floor prices positive, not the other way around. Double Farmer doubling down on the incentivized bidding, incentivized selling. Said now that the tumor has been removed. This is where you're slowly start seeing some healing. Being a collector and, dare I say, investor is at least a feasible endeavor once more, whereas you at least get to experience true price discovery again. Either way, where negative price action spirals are not incentivized and subsidized by airdrops or useless tokens. Now stay out of the way. MFRZ says no more. Tat Thang says the next NFC cycle is coming. Your timeline won't tell you this because the timeline is completely dominated by ETFs, stablecoins, and tokenized treasuries right now. Crypto in 26 looks and feels like a regulated financial product. That's not an accident. And it just goes on to talk more about where the focus of the space is, and the narrative that NFTs are dead has reached terminal saturation. Media wrote the obituary, influencers moved on. I may hit on some of those tourists who have left. The floor prices did bleed out. Now we've got more tech, more experimentation, and it feels like a much firmer foundation and starting point than some of those other short-lived pumps. And then last one, Warner says, been watching the floor for months, trying to find one he loves, the clean aesthetic apes, straight diamond hands, low key, respect that a lot. And Farmer said, yeah, it was the same 30 apes being farmed over and over. 80% of the collection has never moved hands. And now that farming is done. Exciting times. Maybe it's a short-lived. Maybe could things go backwards? Yes, absolutely. But there's a lot to be excited about, far beyond just the floor price. Speaking of things to be excited about, I, for one, am super stoked, not just for this next segment. This might be the last time you get to hear this jingle. We got a new jingle in the making. But speaking of Coffee with Captain favorites, this is an all-time favorite for this upcoming segment, our special guest today. I'll play him in with a proper intro, and then we'll get rolling with our AI segment of the week.
Tune in now, it's fire brain time. Hot topics and thoughts so prime. Hit that play, no need to mind. Feel the heat in every rhyme. Fire brain, ignite the night. Fire brain, we're burning brighter.
All-time banger there. Welcome back, Bunchu. This is my dear friend Bunchu joining us today for This Week in AI. I think we might run with. We'll crowdsource some titles for the segment, but really, truly excited to be running it back with my guy Bunch. We got penciled anyways. Mondays at 9:30, we'll do a weekly AI update, AI segment. Obviously, if you've been here, we do interweave and talk about the AI headlines and AI topics. Not every day, but it's almost every week for sure. We've hit on something AI, but I'm not the subject matter expert. So honored to be joined by one today. Bunch, GM buddy, how you been? Good time. Good to see you. Great to see you. It's been we chatted every once in a while on the DMs, but it's always great to see your face.
I feel like the Coffee with Captain Prodigal Son coming back to the show. So much has changed, like official coffee breaks and things of that nature. Your background is very professional these days, and I feel like I've got the opposite. I went from this nice lighting and professional mic to like I'm huddled up on my laptop today. So I'll have to get the real setup back going. I haven't done too much podcasting or video streaming in a while, so it feels good to shake the rust off and see if we still got it. I played some pickup basketball this weekend, so talking about like shaking the rust off and seeing if you still got it. I think this should be easier than that.
I mean, speaking of pickup basketball, you are still being confused for Steph Curry. So professional background or not, we have either Bunchy Bats or Steph Curry joining us today. And yeah, I appreciate the kind words. I've got the Ape Fest, some art, some books and all that stuff on the background. Although after seeing TBPN getting acquired by OpenAI for $100 million, I forgot today. Tomorrow, maybe I'll do it. I'm going to, I think, really professionalize it up. And I'm just going to start rocking suit and tie on the show. I think that is the
new... You need the jacket at the very least. I mean, how crazy was that? I don't know if I was out of the loop or what. Like that was so out of left field to me. I'm curious what your take was as when you saw that.
I mean, great topic to just jump in on and start talking AI because they were acquired by OpenAI. Let me ask you first, were you a regular? Had you listened to TBPN? Have you seen some clips? What would before the acquisition, what was your level of knowledge as it relates to TBPN?
In and out. Like I had seen them obviously like hit the mainstream, right? Like they kind of, it felt like they came out of nowhere. And I think what was interesting about them feeling like they came out of nowhere is because of how well they do production. Mm-hmm. I felt like I had been living under a rock and just like missed something very big. And I guess I had, but, so I watched every once in a while. Like I'd watched the Robinhood CEO interview and he's talking about AI and prediction markets and things like that. But I wasn't like an everyday tune in person. So, that was very out of left field to me. I'm curious what it actually means, right? Like for a company like OpenAI to buy a human created content engine is like that stuck out to me as potentially interesting of like where the meta, like what happens in the increasingly AI world when you see a company like this buy a broadcast. I'm curious. Did you have any thoughts like that? Like, what was your take when you saw it?
I mean, first I was, excited because of what I do for a living now. It was like, well, this is not that I expect. And rumors are they sold for north of $100 million to OpenAI. And while that's not my number to go to retire to the luxury boutique hotel in Costa Rica is much smaller than that. Excited for many reasons. For one, like you said, it's like, the fact that it was OpenAI that bought them, to me, that was more exciting than say like a Meta or a Google, like another tech company, because exactly what you said, it's like, this is a company that, some people are saying, oh, AI is going to take every job. Well, one of the giants in the space just acquired humans. And then expanding on that, I thought, well, I wonder how much of this is to gain distribution to their audience, not just from a consumer standpoint of who they might onboard to OpenAI, but I wondered in the case of OpenAI, I wonder how much it was because their audience is so niche and high net worth individuals, the guests they have on it attracts those, a lot of people from the tech world, a lot of VCs, a lot of people from Silicon Valley. I wondered how much of this was distribution, not just to gain potentially, a top of funnel for ChatGPT, but rather for investors to get the control the narrative and get the ears and the attention of investors. And I guess where I net out is, we've said it here before. I mean, a while ago, I think all companies are content companies now. It might have been actually you that first said this, put the thought in my head. It's like, if you're building a brand today and you're not building content, whether you own the distribution or you've partnered up with some top level content creators, like, you're doing it wrong. Like, you got to be, you don't have to share everything. It doesn't have to be fully building in public or behind the scenes, but it's like you're doing it wrong if you're spending tens of millions, hundreds of $1 millions on advertising to get through traditional channels of media versus doing some of that, homegrown or close partnerships with one. And I was similar to you. Like, I had watched the show, a couple of them, they'd have a guest on that I was interested in, but mostly I just caught clips. I caught clips on the timeline, and kind of like you, we talked about them like as a, doing some competitive analysis or research on how can we make the show better. And the thought of wearing suit and tie hadn't popped into my head, but like from a production standpoint, it is an extremely high quality, well-produced show. I think I saw they have a team of like 11 people. And yeah, I think this will potentially start a trend of, maybe Anthropic goes out and buys a media arm or talent. Cause I think the other thing I could see OpenAI doing is not just leveraging TBPN for, as I said, controlling the narrative, but I could see them leveraging that talent and that team to help with comm strategy, marketing strategy, do more for OpenAI as a whole beyond just the show itself.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely an element of reputation building for OpenAI. Like, they kind of, the drama, the ongoing conflict and drama between like OpenAI, Anthropic, Grok, like Elon, it's like starting to feel like it's all coming to a head, right? And it's like, all right, there's certainly an element that feels like, okay, help us build our reputation back a little. Help us not feel like the stuffy ones here. Because I think they had gone that far in the last, 6 months. Like, you can feel, if you've been paying attention to the AI stuff closely, like, it feels like it goes in waves of like who is the most revered or who's got the best models at any time or where everybody's putting their time and attention, right? It was like, last year at this time we were doing the show, it was all OpenAI and ChatGPT, and then Gemini came on and they were the hot thing, but they never really felt like, they still feel too big, right? They're Google. Like, they never feel as like startup-y as OpenAI or Anthropic does to me. And then, I think it was really over Christmas when the Claude Code phenomenon happened and everybody started using Claude Code all of a sudden. And then Anthropic, like with Opus 4.6 and OpenClaw and all of this stuff, like, they became the darlings for a while. And now I kind of feel like in the last couple of weeks, it's flipping back a little bit. And then there was all that, all the stuff with the government, like the Anthropic stuff with the government and OpenAI swooping in for the contracts and everything like that. Like, it's kind of its own giant soap opera, which is somewhat scary when you think about like how much influence these companies and labs are going to have in our everyday lives going forward. Kind of a weird thing to think about.
Do you think there's a negative or any downside for them acquiring, like for them owning the distribution arm? Like, will people take them less serious now? TBPN that is now, that like, oh, well, they're just saying that because OpenAI owns them. Of course, they're not going to be critical of Altman, or of course they're going to be promoting OpenAI. Is there, like, I can understand where people see that, but I don't, like, I'm not going to pay attention.
I feel like that happens everywhere though, right? Like, anytime a show or any type of media has a sponsor, I feel like there's kind of that thought of like a built-in bias there. They'll surely have to work to like make that not true, but I think that happens all the time, right? Like, one of the big sports shows I listen to is sponsored by Kalshi, and sometimes they have takes that are pro Kalshi, and sometimes they have negative takes that are anti Kalshi. And so like, I think it's they will have to do some important work to like not be biased. But overall, I think the biggest picture is like bullish on human creators. Like that's one of the things that will kind of survive, which I think should make you feel pretty good just in terms of where you're headed.
Yeah, no, it does. And not just for myself, not just for this show, but quite frankly, I use AI every day. I consume a lot of AI content. I think I've shared with you previously. I was ChatGPT. Now this year I've shifted to Claude for my daily, not even DFS, but like the underdogs snake draft type tournaments. I'll throw, I don't know, $20 a day at firing a few bullets in there. And I use AI for that content. It's good. Like it gets information, uncovers some things that the talking heads all don't. I still listen to podcasts. I still listen to human creators. And I think like, I don't want to see that go away. I don't want to see, like, from a consumption standpoint, I don't just want to be fed artificial information. I don't want to just be fed simulated information. There is something for me that I enjoy about the human connection, even though I've never met these people and most of them I probably never will meet. There's things there that today, yet so far, AI just can't replace. And this is like I think a good signal that human creators aren't going away.
I also think like, there's something to like human content, of course, of like someone's real opinion, right? Like, if anybody's listened to this show, is speaking of things that are happening in the world, we've got the Artemis circling the moon today, and the show lore would suggest maybe we don't think that's happening. So but you're never going to get that from AI, right? Like they're not going to tell you that or even suggest it. So I think there's something to having human creators with opinions, building communities, and like that's something that's obviously always resonated with yourself and people who listen to this show. So I don't think that's anything new. I do think what is interesting is like a company like OpenAI buying a piece of, a property like this. It says, I think, a lot about where they think like attention will be in a world where there's like increasing, potential job disruption and things like that of like people who can create things and communities and audience for themselves are going to, I think, feel like they've got a lot of power in the new paradigm of where we're at.
Yeah, you're kind of unpacking this for me. Like part of like as a consumer and as a, certainly as a show host, I pride myself on being authentic and like it, love it, hate it. Like it's, you get what you see. Like I am genuine, sometimes to a fault, share things on my mind and sometimes wear that on my chest. Not always the best, but it is what it is. Like that's what you're getting here. And I think while AI might be super intelligent and far more intelligent than me and most podcast hosts, it's not authentic. It's going to tell you maybe accurate information, but when it comes to opinions, it's going to tell you what it thinks you want to hear. Or
which is kind of what you described in a roundabout way with like the fantasy and DFS, right? Like the things it's good at, the things you like it for, is not that. The things you listen to, you still consume from a content standpoint is more what you're describing now.
Yep, absolutely. You mentioned there in passing, like you felt the pendulum had, it went from OpenAI is taking over the world, ChatGPT is the best, to most people in the space shifted over to Claude as our go-to. It became my daily driver. I still now, I use Claude probably like 80-20, I'm guessing, compared to OpenAI, and every once in a while I'll use Grok for something. But really, my two primary LLMs, it's Claude and then OpenAI. You mentioned you're starting to feel somewhat of a shift. I saw you, I think last maybe Friday, you shared your email screenshot or message from Claude. Is it the, like, maybe for those that didn't see this, kind of like cutting off OpenClaw, I think is a big deal. A lot of OpenClaw I saw our guy Von Frutton, who was really excited. He actually gave you a shout out that because some of the stuff you taught him back when Firebrain was a thing, he was able to find some workarounds so he could still utilize OpenClaw and do what he had built. But is it just this? Like, what do you think is shifting the pendulum back from Claude a little bit to OpenAI?
Yeah, I think that let's see. This is like not a non-trivial thing, what you're looking at on the screen, right? So back in I would say December, everybody, it felt like overnight, started understanding like how powerful Claude Code was. And from a standpoint of like not even just writing code or building something, right? It was basically like with the introduction of skills that they rolled out and all of that stuff, it was basically like an agent for anything you wanted, because it had tool calls to, you know, call the web, and it could just code on the fly with obviously one of the best coding models that exists, et cetera, et cetera. So it really felt like for the first time you kind of had this agent for everything, right? And so that was enough to get me to switch to, like, I had always kind of been resistant, and this is because I was like afraid. I'm not a technical person by nature. Everything I've done is kind of like self-taught with this stuff, right? And so I was always afraid of like using Claude Code in the terminal. And but once I kind of realized this and experienced it once, I was hooked. I like, holy shit, what was I doing? I should have been doing this 6 months ago. And that became like my daily driver. And then and you could use it for, like I said, it became an agent for everything. It wasn't even just writing code or building projects. It was like, man, I have X, Y, and Z thing I need to you know, do through a work email, and it could have access to your folders and files. And it was really like running a local agent because of using the smartest models as the back end, right? Because you could have Claude Code running in your terminal, you could open up a project folder, and it would have context to everything in there. So if it was like analyzing data or reading, you know, work documents or whatever, and that like really started to feel kind of magical. And then, you know, 3 months ago, maybe 4 months ago, the OpenClaw thing really came out of what felt like nowhere, right? And if you're not familiar with OpenClaw, it's the open source kind of agent harness framework that has now since also been acquired by OpenAI, which I thought was very interesting. Anthropic kind of came in and they were pretty aggressive the other way, because what was happening was with OpenClaw, people were using their Claude Max subscriptions to OAuth in and use that as the kind of driver. So for $200 a month, it became the best value on the internet, because you had this like heavily subsidized token usage that you could use with this kind of all powerful local agent for the first time. And it was really, really like this eye-opening experience if you had played around with it and got it to work. And I did all of the very cliche, like go buy a Mac Mini, set it up. I wanted to have the experience, and I still run my OpenClaw agents up until, you know, Friday. And so now I have to figure out what I'm going to do with them. But point was, Anthropic kind of like came in and was really heavy. They had the guys change the name. They had, and now obviously they are backing off of having people be able to use the OAuth as the third party. And I understand why. Like, there's two reasons I think are valid. One, the sub is not meant to be used like this. Like, we're probably using so much of their compute, right? And like for $200 a month, that if you were doing the same thing through the API is probably a couple $1,000s a month at best. Or
people that are using OpenClaw like this, they're power users too, right? These are like the very edge, the bleeding edge of the tech, and they're the ones that are, whether they're going through OpenClaw or otherwise, they're probably going to use more tokens on average than any other users out there. And this was a backdoor. This is a workaround, essentially.
So we were probably melting their usage, right? And so I totally get it from that standpoint. And then now it's kind of like, you know, it's still open source, but it's technically owned by a competitor. And so I see why they wouldn't want you using it through there either. But, you know, that's kind of driven me back to, okay, well, can I do the same things or better that I was doing with Claude Code with Codex? And so I started using the Codex app. And for building and coding, it's better.
Really?
It's better than Claude Code, in my opinion. From a personality standpoint, Opus or Sonnet as a model is way better to interact with. But I think from like a pure code. It's like, it feels like you've got Claude Code is kind of like, it feels like Claude Code's kind of like this, very charismatic coworker that you have that's very good at his job, but still sometimes makes mistakes. And then Codex is like the engineer that lives in the dungeon that nobody talks to or exists, but just like gets shit done. Like that's what the difference feels like between. So I've actually started using Codex outside of like my OpenClaw agents as kind of my daily coding. I think the app is better built too for just managing projects and things like that. So I've kind of gone, back and forth. There was a while I literally had, this is so embarrassing. I had three Claude Pro Max subscriptions.
Why? Just because of you would run out of tokens on one and you go to the next? Is that?
Yeah, I would hit limits on them. Like I'd hit my weekly limits for my OpenClaw agents, and I'd have to switch and swap them out, and that became a hassle. So I just started putting them on different ones.
Wild.
I was using them. We can get into this kind of next time if we want to, but I was using them for real business cases of like what we were building with, Billy and stuff. So we were using them pretty heavily and gave them a lot of responsibility, and it was really interesting. And it, from a standpoint of somebody building a business with, 2 to 3 people, having these agents have core parts of what I was doing was really impactful. Really kind of was doing work that at least 1 or 2 full-time people would have done for us.
This is where I was going to go with it. Like, it sounds like a lot. Like, holy cow, you're paying $600 for a month for one AI subscription. But the reality is you couldn't hire a single employee, let alone multiples, for $600 a month to do what they were doing for you on the work side.
Totally. What we're doing with them is like easily a full-time employee, easily 1, maybe 2.
Yeah, pretty incredible. I still, and you have better understanding having used it for you, because like I literally, since you said that, I just now downloaded Codex. I was familiar with it. I use ChatGPT and Claude. I use Cowork. I did not go down the OpenClaw route. I did actually this past weekend, even despite these recent changes. I was at Costco and I saw their deals on Mac Mini. I was like, maybe I should just go and buy one just to F around with. How do you think looking forward, a little bit forward thinking, I have 2 questions for you, and I know we're running a little long here, so we will get you out of here. I appreciate your time this morning, and really, truly excited to run back this segment. First question, like, how do you see the models evolving? Do you think, like, from a consumer standpoint, we probably stay at or similar to like a $20 and a $200 model? Maybe that goes up or down a little bit, but from a consumer standpoint, you probably have 2-ish tiers in that range. And then enterprise pricing gets different. Like, how do you think, like, how do you see, like, the really on the enterprise side?
I kind of hope it stays that way, because I'm kind of sort of fearful of like, man, once you like put these agents together and you're actually running them for meaningful things that you're doing, whether it's your personal life or business, is like, God, I would pay anything. Right? Like I'd pay 5 times what I'm paying now, probably. And that's kind of scary because, I would say most people are not running local models, meaning like they're not using Kimi K2 downloaded on their, Mac Studio. They're running these things, the harnesses, through the major labs, whether it's their auth sub or their API, right? Like, so you are you're reliant on them in some ways, I would say, for the average person. And it's like, I would pay 5 times what I'm paying now. And so I hope it stays at kind of like these types of tiers until you get to, a bigger enterprise tier. But like, I could totally see the Netflix subscription creep happening, where it's like, oh, every 6 months I go up $100, right? And of course I'm going to pay it because I can't live without Netflix. I can't live without Claude, right? And so like I'm hopeful.
And even more so, it's like a whole other scale. Like actually, for the first time ever, I thought about canceling my Netflix because I just don't like. Do I watch it every once in a while? Yeah, but if I think like, well, I watch Amazon Prime far more. And now I do pay for HBO Max and, Apple TV, a few other subs there, but I use it far more than I use Netflix. I'm like, does it really justify $30 a month nowadays? I don't know if it does. I don't.
Yeah. So now wait till there's all these switching costs built in, like
Yep.
memory of all your chats
That's
and
it.
all this kind of stuff. And like, there will be real switching costs for you at some point on these types of things. So I hope it stays this way. I think it'll be this way for a while. I think they'll, I think they make quite a bit on their API usage, which, again, like, I think that's why I don't blame Anthropic for doing what they're doing. Like they have to make money. But yeah, I hope it stays this way is what I was.
That's also why I feel the competition is so important, because that's the only hope we have to keeping the subscription prices reasonable, right? Like if it was just OpenAI, or it was just the Anthropic.
But we're also glad they hate each other.
Yeah. Otherwise, these things, like that $200 will go to $2K, and if you're locked in, what are you going to do? Like you just got to keep paying it, and they know it. Whereas now it's like at least you have the option. And I think that, we haven't even mentioned Gemini. Like Gemini is super impressive, not just like Nano Banana and the image generation stuff. Like the fact that it's built into the Google Suite it's the other one I use. But I use it probably daily, but I don't even think about that I'm using it, because it just works. It's just better UI because they're tapping into that LLM. And I think that all having so many major competitors is really benefits us as the consumer. Today, a lot of times they're subsidizing this usage, subsidizing the cost. And I think I'm hopeful that it does keep prices attainable or realistic as things move forward. Because if not, like, I'm just going to switch and I'm going to go to the other one. Speaking of the other one,
from a model standpoint, though, like I think we're pretty close to like what both Anthropic and OpenAI are kind of hinting at as kind of like even a next step up, which is kind of crazy to think about. There was a leak in some Anthropic documents last week and over the weekend of like the Claude Code stuff, but there was new models mentioned called Mythos, which is apparently like a step up from Opus, which is going to be crazy. And then I think I heard also, or I was reading that OpenAI has kind of a new model being ready to be put out soon as well, that they're referring to as a step up. Like when we talked on this, I remember when it came out, OpenAI put out their like 5 levels to get to AGI, right? And we were at level 1 at the time, or had just graduated, which was like chatbots. And we were kind of moving into, the agents, and 4 and 5 levels were innovators and organization. And I think we're like in that level 4 place now. And I think we're like maybe 6 months to a year away from like the first time we're really thinking about, oh, these things can run organizations in ways, in some, very simple ways, like we're not talking Fortune 500 organizations, but like a single person running a business using these things reliably, right? So we've had these conversations now for 18 months, and it feels like we're kind of finally to the part we all thought we were going to be at. And I think the timeline's even faster than we thought when we were talking about it there, which is kind of crazy.
I think so as well. I got Andreessen's post pulled up here, who just last night says, I'm calling it AGI is already here. It's just not evenly distributed yet. Thoughts on that?
I think he's probably right. Like with these newer models that are about to drop, I think are going to feel even more like it than you already do. But I think like anybody who's actually using these things usefully probably feels like that. And that's not to say they all work perfectly, right? Like if you've ever set up an OpenClaw, you probably know the pain of setting up your OpenClaw, right? Like it is not this like turn it on and everything is sunshine and rainbows. It's actually very hard. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of iterative patience back and forth. But like when it's doing the thing it's supposed to do, you're like, oh, holy shit, I like the world is going to change. And so, we're just like right on the start of all of that. And so I definitely agree with that tweet. Like remember, these labs also have models that are 6 to 12 months ahead of like what we're seeing now, right? Like what we're seeing now has already passed all their, safety checks and red teaming and all of that kind of stuff. And meanwhile, they're full speed ahead training the next 5-10 iterations of this stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a silly example, but it hit me recently. I'm like, not that I said, oh, this is AGI, but like the level of awareness and memory has gotten so much better. Like in the last 6 months, like light years better than where it was, to where before I'd almost have to go back into the exact same chat if I wanted it to remember something, remember some context or something. Whereas last week I was asking it about, there was some research article about 20 grams of creatine a day or in one serving will improve your brain processing by like 25% if you're short on sleep. So like if you didn't get a good night's sleep, wake up, throw back 20 grams of creatine and it'll, and I was talking to Claude about it and, just going back and forth or some side effects. And it actually brought up, he's like, well, also keep in mind with your daily morning routine with Coffee with Captain. And it started talking about the impacts of creatine combined with coffee can have, just being smart enough to realize, well, if I host a show called Coffee with Captain, I probably consume a lot of coffee in the morning. And like, I never told it that. Like it does my daily brief, but I don't say like, oh yeah, I throw back a pot of coffee while I'm hosting the show. But it was smart enough when it was talking about something completely unrelated to coffee or my daily routine. It was smart enough to realize, oh, this guy probably does consume a lot of coffee every morning and connect those two dots. Like I was just like again, I know it's a silly example, but it was like it was one of those moments that just like made me step back for a second, like, wait a second, like how does it know this?
Yeah, I think like to your point about the memory, it's way better than it was. It's still probably like one of the biggest frontiers to conquer to like really feel like AGI. I think it's that. I think it's like self-improvement, which is, kind of always being worked on. And I like context windows, like that changes everything in terms of how long you can have the same chat. And like even the way they've done like compacting and stuff like that since the last time we spoke, it just feels like, a really powerful change. And that's also what I'm talking about with like the switching costs, right? Like if you put all your information or you have these meaningful conversations with Claude, it's going to feel harder for you to go swap to ChatGPT and feel like you're starting over. You know what I mean?
Yep. Last question for you. And if there's anything else you wanted to share, by all means, feel free to do so. But I appreciate your time. Sorry for keeping you long today. I think one of the things I like that ChatGPT has evolved and made better is the models. Like it's just, at least in the drop down, it's like I said, I just downloaded Codex. So if I want to, I'll do some playing around with that later. But like from a instant for everything chats, thinking for complex questions, it's no longer like, here's 7 different models and choose one that's supposed to work best for you. I guess more specific as far as a question goes, as it relates to Claude, do you like, I've never even used Haiku. I just use Opus or Sonnet. And I don't really have any rhyme or reason. Like I know Opus is more ambitious work and Sonnet is more efficient, like faster, going to use less tokens, but that's really the extent of it. So like if it's a basic question or task, I might use Sonnet. Like how are you like for the layman, for those of us that aren't deep, is there any advice or like when you're coming to choosing models, whether it's, hey, use OpenAI for this or use ChatGPT for this, use Claude for this, or even the models within say Claude, how do you determine when do you use Opus for Sonnet or use Cowork? Like, is there like a best practice there or like an easy to know, oh, you should use this model for that or this one for that?
Yeah, I think about it as like tiers of the problem I'm trying to solve, right? Like if I'm actually like throwing something really complex and difficult at it, like if I'm starting a big project that's gonna need code or systems built or, some like deep planning and things like that, I'll start and basically finish with Opus. And then if it's something like I have to execute on after that, I might even switch it to Sonnet for the execution from a cost standpoint, right? Like, and then I think of Sonnet as like your daily driver, ChatGPT, like things I want to have a conversation or Google. And and it can execute really well. But I think of like Opus as kind of like the orchestrator. It's better at stuff like that than Sonnet is. And then I actually think it's even better at things like that than the ChatGPT models are. So I'll write plans and stuff with Opus that I'll take to Codex, if that makes sense.
It does. And the one thing, like my actionable takeaway there is I don't think yet I've switched within a project, going like started Opus and then switch after it like solves the basic, then switch to Sonnet once it's got the baseline solved, or laid a little bit of a foundation. That's something I will probably incorporate as well. All that said, I really don't like. There's been a few days I've run up against my daily limit, but I'm not hitting the usage issues or restrictions like you are. And that's the other time I'll switch to, is if I hit a daily limit, I just go to the other one. And so far, the 2 subs has been, there hasn't been a day where one of them I've used them both.
Yeah, like I think like an example for you is like, all right, you're going to start a DFS project in which you're going to, build a pipeline to pull in a bunch of data and analyze it every day, right? It's like, okay, I would use Opus for the planning and building of the pipeline. And then once you're at a spot where it's like, okay, what's the daily execution? You could switch to Sonnet and it would be plenty for what you would need for that. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, it makes a ton of sense. Truly looking forward to this segment, buddy. Appreciate you.
Yeah,
anything we wanted to share today, or anything you thought we might get into that you didn't have a chance to talk about yet?
No, I'm excited. I will keep, I think Mondays at 9:30-ish going to be good for me. So I'll be here as many as I can.
Awesome. No, looking forward to it. And goes without saying, if there's also anyone that you'd like to join us or fill in someday, we're open to any and all. And Payne's working on a new jingle, but I told him no rush. People love the Firebrain jingle. So
we'll run it. Dude, the clip, the beard. I haven't had a beard like that in quite a while. Yeah,
look good.
Yeah, I had hair last time we spoke too. I'm all bald now. So
amazing.
Yeah, but anyway, all right. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you next week.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a great week. And everyone else, appreciate you tuning in today. Really enjoyed the show. Enjoyed the This Week in AI with Bunch. Enjoyed NFTs being back and a lively conversation around real utility and what the next cycle may look like. As we said throughout the show, it's going to be very different than the first NFT cycle, not just from a floor price, but from a lot more substance, I think is what excites me. Not just substance in the sense of clubhouses and in real utility, whether it's AI agents baked into these things or otherwise. But in the beginning, in the first cycle, these communities were being formed. Now, a lot of these communities have been around for years, and those that are still here and those that have vibrant communities, there is this baseline to build from. Even something as simple as like the membership directory we talked about earlier. Well, could it have been like functionally the same thing in 21, 22? Yeah, but you just don't have those relationships. You don't know who these people are. You don't even know where necessarily to start. You didn't have the regional clubs per se. And again, this isn't saying some new entrants can't come in and have an impact as well. They can, and they are. We're seeing it. I just think that even for those, the ability for the new brands to come in and make an impact, have something of substance from launch is very real, partially because the tech is light years ahead of where it was 5 years ago. Someone earlier mentioned like gas fees being way down, and what you can do with these assets is so much. Now, the OG assets, a lot of them are you still can program against them. You can still unlock utilities, features, benefits that whether it just minted in 26 or minted in 2021, it's just there's a lot more at the disposal of the founders, the teams, those that are leading these projects. And it's part of what gets me most excited is I feel that experimentation is back. And that's one of the things that excited me. It was the people and the experimentation almost always being something new, not just because I have something new to talk about, but as an active participant. It's exciting to see, okay, I can do a lot more with this PFP than just rock it as a PFP, or I don't know, stake it for some token drip or hold on to it and maybe get a token drop to me someday. Like, cool for speculation, cool for bags maybe, but there's let's really, we're at the cutting edge of tech here, both blockchain tech, AI tech, financial tech. Like, let's bring those together and really start utilizing the tech. And I think we're starting to see it from the physical world, the clubhouses. It's not just the clubhouse. I think we'll see more NFTs used as access, lifetime membership. What does that mean? What does a lifetime membership of a club mean? Just Discord access? Well, I'm in hundreds of Discords, and I don't pay for any of them. Like, it's just unlocking so much more in the physical realm, and then leaning into the technology, like we've seen here recently. Use the examples of Pixel Pups and normies. More of that, I think, is good for NFTs. It's good for the space at large, and I think what also is very different is I think you could see floor prices run up without the volume. And I think that's where a lot of people, I think I will disagree with, is some will say, oh, you got to have volume. You don't want to protect royalties because that'll eliminate your traders. You need volume to get your attention to pop. I adamantly disagree. I don't think you need a lot of volume. In fact, I think a lot of these collections, a lot of these NFT, PFP native brands, they're better off to have less volume. And the only time one sells is when a new member is joining the club. Not just someone speculating on, oh, the floor price might go up and I could flip this thing for 0.03 ETH next week. I don't think that's necessary. And I think you have a member that joins a club, so they want access to the clubhouse, and maybe they use it, they make some connections, and then 18 months later, they're moving out of Miami and they decide to sell the thing and recoup their investment. That's exciting. And those kinds of transactions are good, healthy, bringing in new members, new people to network with, etc. I think that's far healthier than, no offense to the Franklins of the world, but the buying for 0.99 ETH and flipping next week for 1.03 ETH is one thing, when people were doing that just to farm points for a marketplace, or worse, they buy it for 0.99 and they dump it the next day into bids for 0.96. That proved to have a negative impact, not just for floors, for collections, for momentum, for communities. And I feel, knock on wood, I feel as if we're out of that realm, and bottom is in. Again, thanks for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern time, like always. Appreciate y'all being here. Thanks so much. Love the conversation today. Love the stage. A lot of legends joined us. I appreciate all of you for adding to the conversation, whether you joined us on stage or you joined us in the chat. I did pin one of Bunchu's posts up top. If you're not following our guy Bunchu, you're missing out. Truly one of the biggest brains that's building at the intersection of crypto and AI, and doing some really incredible stuff with Billy Betts. Go give Bunchu a follow and give him some love for his time with us today. But with that note, hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow.